Meeting of March 7th, 2022 to order. Dennis, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Good evening. Elyville, Carla Laws.
Here.
Is Dee Dee here?
Present.
Good. Kanema, Linda.
Here.
Good. I'm here. Caulfield, John Keys.
Here.
Gaffney Lane, Ray Atkins. Hazel Grove, I believe, is inactive. Hillendale, Sarah.
I'm here.
Good. McLaughlin, Denise.
Here.
Good. Park Place, Steve Van Haverby.
Here.
Bob is here, I see. I don't think we have anybody in Rivercrest. Correct? Is Bonnie Espy here from South End? And no rep from Tower Vista or Two Rivers. I believe that's it, Bob.
I think we have Hunter Pico from Hillendale. Is he
We do.
present? Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we do.
Hunter? I'm looking at the participants and he's not on there.
Okay, thank you.
So he'd have to be somewhere else.
Okay. And of course we have,
He often just joins by the Zoom, not the Zoom, the YouTube,
Right.
watches it. He doesn't participate.
Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
And of course we
Okay,
have
Bob.
Christina Robertson-Gardiner and Adam Marl, our city commission rep.
I see a Brian Shaw here.
And Brian Shaw. Good to see you.
Okay, I'm
Think you got it, Bob.
going to make a change in the presentations order. I'm going to move Oregon City Together up to item, I guess it would be 2A, right after the Chamber of Commerce update. They requested an earlier presentation, so I'm granting that. So our presentations this morning, we'll start with downtown Oregon City update with Liz Hannum.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to just start with a couple things that are happening downtown. The city of Oregon City has decided, because of some of the parking meters struggling with credit card reading, they've decided to go with a parking app. Similar to, if you've been to Portland, Parking Kitty, that app will start using downtown fairly soon. I think they were planning on implementing it by the end of this month. So look for that. That will really help us as we move forward, try to figure out the timing of parking downtown. You don't know how many people I see running down the street with oils in their hair. It's a funny situation. So I think we're going to try and figure out a better solution to the parking that already exists, and figure out some better management. We had a parking study in September, so we're just kind of analyzing that for recommendations that we'll bring to City Commission with the Transportation Demand Management Group. So I think there's going to be some good changes coming up with parking downtown. We also implemented the shared parking program. I think I've brought this to you guys before, but we haven't done a great job marketing it because it started during the pandemic and parking wasn't an issue. So now that we're actually seeing activity and we're pretty excited to see, I'm always excited when we have a parking problem, just FYI, because it means activity. But the shared parking program means that private parking lot owners are actually offering their spaces to us for free on nights and weekends. So during the day, it'll be a private lot, and on the nights and weekends, so after 5 p.m. and on the weekends, we can use that as a public lot, so that we've added, I think 112 parking spaces to downtown, which will be fantastic as we go into the summer season and dinner out. I think it will really help alleviate some of the parking issues downtown. Events are coming back, which is pretty exciting. First City Celebration is July 16th, so look out for that. That'll be Saturday, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we've got the vendor situation. Registration is open right now. So if you know people who want to test out a market, we have Makers Row that's coming back. And that's only, it's half of a table. So we'll provide the table and tent, and they'll share, two businesses will share one table, so that we can test out some new businesses coming through and see if they're market ready. So that's kind of a new thing that we have that we're gonna market pretty well this year. And then we have the regular 10 by 10 booths, and we've got 130 spaces this year. So we're anticipating quite a crowd. You know, we normally have between 5,000 and 7,000 people that attend that event. And I think we're gonna probably hit that, if not more. We're anticipating having a lot more people coming through. But we're also trying to get a few more events going up. We've had some capacity issues, as everyone else, but every other business in town has had. So I think we're gonna figure out what events will work and how we can manage them going forward. So First City Celebration is a go, but the rest of them we're kind of figuring out at the moment. Let's see. I think you'll hear from Victoria more about the Concierge Institute, but we're pretty excited that the heritage houses and some of the more tourist-based sites are getting some support from the chamber. I've participated in a couple of those, teaching some of those classes, and we're really excited to see some of that come together. The tourism network has really started to pull together, and I think between Victoria at the chamber and Downtown Association, we're really trying to help support some of those capacity issues. So we've got some people coming in, hopefully, and Victoria has been a really big part of that, so I'll let her talk more about it. But just know that the tourism network is growing, and we're really excited for travel to start up again. Let's see. The Downtown Faceless project that we've been talking about for about a year is going forward, finally. We're really excited about it. The city's economic development and tourism departments are funding a lot of those projects with the property owners. But if you'll see, we have a very unique vantage point for our downtown from the elevator. And so we're excited to try and help beautify some of the rooftops as well as the backsides of buildings to really make it look fresh and new. And we're hoping that over the next couple of months, we can get a lot of those buildings painted. And the city has some banners that are gonna go up that will say Oregon's hometown. So we've got a lot of things happening all at once. We've also got that lighting project that's gonna come to fruition, hopefully the end of this year. And then we're working on building a courthouse committee. And I know, Brian, I've talked to you recently about this, but we're really trying to get both the city and the county invested in what's gonna happen with the courthouse. So right now, the county has been really focused on the new courthouse. And so they haven't really thought much about what the old courthouse is gonna happen. But we see about 1,200 people a day that come through that courthouse. And so that's millions of dollars a year that's being spent in downtown, specifically from courthouse users. So we're really hoping to build kind of a committee, a group that will focus on what we're gonna do with that going forward. I have a couple of ideas. I know everyone has sent me their ideas. I think we're looking at, there's going to be something really cool. There's an opportunity there. There's definitely some development challenges with that building, but I think that going forward, that's one of our big priorities for this year and the coming years is making sure that we have a good transition from what the courthouse is to a new active use. Those are kind of the big things that are happening downtown. And then lots of little things, the parklets, if you've used those at the restaurant, those are gonna come up on City Commission for whether or not we wanna make them permanent or if we keep them as a pilot project. So we've seen a lot of support from them, from the businesses that are actually using them. So we have 4 of them downtown at the moment, and 3 of the businesses said they would not have made it through the pandemic if they didn't have them. And since them spent between $4,000 and $7,000 building them, it seems like that would be a good use of the space, especially since we're only taking up about 3 parking spaces total, or no, 5 parking spaces, sorry. So I think we can hopefully get that made permanent so that those restaurants that have invested can actually continue to see value in them. So those are the big things from downtown right now.
Liz, do you know if the county has plans to sell the courthouse, or is that too far down the line to consider?
All options are on the table, but 95% I'm sure that they're gonna sell it. So it just depends on who and what they plan on doing with it. Ideally, they would sell it to the Urban Renewal Commission. These are just my hopeful plans. The Urban Renewal Commission hasn't decided on that yet, but I'm hoping that we can get it into the hands of the city or a group that will invest in it the way that it needs to be.
It'd be nice if we could get somebody in there that would pay property taxes.
Yeah, I think if we can transfer ownership to the city, then we have time. Whereas, you know, the county may not be as invested in the finding the appropriate user, appropriate owner, whereas I think the city is much more invested in that.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Dorothy on the.
Dee Dee's on the line.
Dorothy.
Yes, John, go ahead.
No, Dorothy on the.
Oh, Dee Dee, go ahead, yeah.
Hi, Dee Dee Daltrich here. I'm very excited about the Up on the Roof project with possible mandalas and gardens and murals and backside, because that's a really beautiful opportunity. However, you said banners, and I would caution you on being careful with banners. Make sure you really look at our city code, signage code, because there are banners on top of carts, banners that are hanging from cities, banners that are in front of care facilities, in front of Kentucky Fried Chicken, that are all against code. And same with wavy signs. So make sure you look at the city signage before you start putting banners up and look at that.
That's one good thing. I used to do this as a kind of volunteer in another city that I worked in, and I could just do whatever I wanted against code. But now that I'm with the affiliated with the city, I can't do that anymore. So yes, we will be very conscious of that. We have, most of them are going to be the small, 2x4 kind of that go along the streets on 7th and stuff. But I think there's going to be one cross-street banner in downtown.
And those are on limited permit basis, the ones that go hanging across the streets. So that's written into our code. But some of our largest landowners are blatantly in violation. Okay, enough for me about signs.
Anybody else?
Yes, Bob?
Yes.
Bob? Liz, just to, I'm making a note here. So July 16th on Saturday, can you give me those times again?
Sure, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank Liz.
And if you have, just to kind of, I have a couple of free spaces that I could maybe, if the CIC is interested in getting more volunteers or something, you can always let me know, and I can maybe set aside a booth for you at First City Celebration, and you can get the word out a little bit more about the neighborhood associations and things like that. So I'm happy to do that for you guys if you're interested.
Okay, thanks for the offer. We'll check it out.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Liz.
Yeah.
The next presentation will be the Chamber of Commerce, Victoria Meinig.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me this evening. I'm Victoria Meinig. I'm the CEO of the Oregon City Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Liz, for bringing up all that stuff because it reminded me, oh, yeah, don't forget to talk about that. Oh, yeah, don't forget to talk about that. It's late in my day. All right, so the first thing I'd like to do is invite you to the State of the Community on March 9th at 4 o'clock. It is going to be streamed live on Facebook on the Chamber of Commerce page and on the YouTube for the City of Oregon City. Again, 4 o'clock, March 9th. Also, we currently have a Shop Local campaign happening. It's a postcard campaign. It's called Wander Willamette. It's Wander, W-A-N-D-E-R, Willamette. If you go on there, you'll get to see all the businesses that are participating in Oregon City, Westland, and Lake Oswego. It's a collection of 9 postcards that are really beautiful, done by our graphic designer. Later on, as the year goes on, we'll have more merch since everybody seems to really love this program at this point. So make sure that you collect your 9 postcards before the end of March. As Liz mentioned, yes, we have a Concierge Institute, which we are almost done. And so that's a great opening to the tourism, to our destination marketing campaign that you will see shortly. It's a collaboration, again, of the Chamber of Commerce, Downtown Oregon City Association, and the City of Oregon City. So we're all pretty excited about that. It's taken a little bit, but we are excited to kick that off. Also, our Business Recovery Center has now been extended till June of 2023. I will be processing the ARPA funding shortly. It takes about 3 to 4 more months. So that will cover Oregon City, Canby, Molalla, Malino, Colton, and Estacada, and Gladstone. So pretty excited about that. Lots of work to do. So if you don't see me, it's okay. We're just trucking forward. We're doing our thing. I'm sure there'll be more to come as we continue down the thing. So we'll talk again, I believe Bob said in June or something, June or July. So we'll have more then. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Victoria? Okay, thank you, Victoria. See you in 3 months. 2 months, 3 months. Okay, our next presentation will be Oregon City Together with Pam Wilson and Brian Shaw.
Hey, thank you. And really, thank you for moving us up. We really appreciate it. I'll get my PowerPoint going here. So, thank you. And I'm Pam Wilson. I'm the coordinator of Oregon City Together. And I think you all probably know Brian Shaw, who is one of our long-standing members. Brian represents civic organizations. We have 12 sectors of our community represented in our coalition. He represents one. And we just want to kind of briefly go like a little bit about who we are, because I'm not sure all of you have had contact with us before. We've talked to neighborhood associations off and on, but with COVID and all, not for some time. A little bit about what we do, what we've got coming up, and why it matters. And then we just had some survey results come in, and we kind of want to share some of the highlights of those, because again, community stakeholders, we all have a vested interest in how our kids are doing. And this is who we are. There's about 25 of us. We had our first grant in 2010, and then we're in the 9th year of a federal drug-free community grant. And we also have a small grant from Clackamas County. It's paid for with marijuana tax dollars. And I think the county commissioners are, I think they're probably the only ones in the state of Oregon that are doing that. But it makes sense to us because it mitigates having recreational marijuana in our communities. And the Oregon City School District is our fiscal agent. We are the only organization in town that's focusing solely on prevention. You know, and as you all know, prevention is really critical because human brains don't develop until the mid-20s. And what might be okay for an adult brain is not okay for a teen brain when it comes to drugs and alcohol. And we're kind of trying to do a lot of education on how the teen brains are more vulnerable to the impact of drugs and alcohol. And this is not what we do. Some of you might remember this from the, you know, we've all maybe, many of us grew up with this. Wasn't very effective in the first place. We use evidence-based strategies to do our prevention work. And one of them is parent outreach. You know, it seems like common sense, but really a huge protective factor is having a parent talk to you about the risk of using drugs and alcohol, and having a parent who has clear, concise rules and consequences. But again, our job, we kind of help build their capacity, remind folks of what works, and kind of really support positive parenting. And we do direct youth outreach to directly educate kids on the risks of drug use, and also really help kids have strategies to reduce stress and anxiety so they're not tempted to self-medicate. Here's one of our current outreach projects. We have a huge blow-up brain that's, we hope to get attention in the schools and community events, so it kind of gives us an in to do some of our education on brain development. Some of you may have gone to our movies. Our movies are open to everyone in the community, and the people that come the most are parents and high school kids, or kids. Most of our movies are for kids 6th grade and up. So we haven't done those for a while, but before COVID, we were doing them every year. We're just starting a community event with the school district on really looking at the dangers of fentanyl in our community. That's something that's going to be coming up in the next month. And we're currently doing lockbox giveaways. We're going to have drive-through free lock boxes. We have a drive-through event coming up at Eastham this Saturday, and then also the 19th, and people can go to our website, which is octogether.org, to learn more about how to secure drugs, alcohol in their homes. Because kids tell us in surveys, the #1 place they get drugs is their parents' cabinet, their parents' stash, their parents' alcohol cabinet, or their friends' parents. So it's just good to reduce access, to reduce youth opportunities. And here's our survey results, just a little bit about how our kids are doing. Most kids don't use marijuana. I mean, in 2018, you know, more than 25% of our 11th graders did. And then it really dropped down in 2020. We think that's probably, we don't know for sure, but we think that's probably an anomaly. Like, we're kids at home with their parents, they weren't at parties with their friends, so it was hard to access drugs and so forth. So we would hope that it's going to stay that way, but We're not sure. I'd like to see it that low. More kids use alcohol than marijuana, and that's been consistently pretty much across the board. And here's where, you know, we want the usage rates to be low, but we want these rates to be as high as possible, because this question is, you know, do you think using marijuana will harm you? And obviously, if you don't think it's going to harm you, that's a huge indicator of future use. And you can see in 2012, before legalization, we had it pretty high across the board. People thought it was, you know, generally risky. But then 2014, huge nosedive with our 11th graders in particular, and then our 6th graders as well. So this is quite alarming to us, and we've really been working at addressing it. Alcohol, across the board, generally, you think alcohol is a higher risk than using marijuana. And here's just from our last survey in 2020, it shows that, again, marijuana has the lowest perceived risk of all the drugs. And we've done a great job with smoking. I mean, kids know that smoking's bad for them, but then when you get to e-cigs, it's like, not so much, which is a concern. We always ask this question because, again, kids who are anxious, nervous, stressed, depressed, use drugs 3 to 5 times more than other students. So, of course, with COVID, many of these rates went up, and we'll see with our next survey. You know, we're really curious, how does that look? Hopefully that's not a trend and they'll start going down again. And we work to reduce risk factors. I think many of you are familiar with these risk factors. This is not all of them. This is just some of them. And then here's our protective factors. And again, there's others, but these are some of the primary ones. And then how can you help? I mean, being aware of what protects kids, really helping develop an environment that's conducive to drug-free kids. I mean, we have pretty much a social norm right now that marijuana is not harmful, and it would be great to have everybody know that it is harmful if you're, if you're under 18. Because kids, if you start using before you're age 15, you're a 1 in 4 chance of becoming addicted. And again, what you all, green spaces, places for kids to be, safe places, that really helps as well. Anyway, I kind of went through a lot of information. Thank you. Any questions?
Go ahead, Carla.
My name's Carla, Carla Laws. Number one, I'm having, from what I get feedback as a parent of high schoolers, a very different form of feedback since COVID. And it's an epidemic that 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds are using more than ever, that the high school at Case has up to 60% of the kids vaping and probably THC, that the high school has an abnormal amount, that the teachers cannot control the kids from vaping in the bathrooms. My thing is I know you guys are doing what you can. Is there any plan? Here's my questions. Number one, it sounds like the school administration is reaching out to you guys, and I'm kind of curious about that currently, because I felt from my experience, the superintendent did not see a drug problem in the schools, and there is more of a drug problem after COVID. Number two is, do you see that our police officers want to address that more? Because what I'm hearing from the kids is social media, there's something called a plug, where kids can meet with drug dealers off social media, and the parents can't track it because there's 2 messages and then they disappear. And number 3 is, I guess, do you see vaping as an issue? Because cigarettes may be down, but vaping is a really big problem. So those are my 3 questions about the vaping. Do you see OC police? I realize our police, staff are down, but are they wanting to intervene in this? And then also, the school administration, it sounds like they're reaching out to you. What are they wanting to do to address these issues?
Okay. So, boy, those are big ones. Thank you, Carla. So,
Thank you.
School, there's lots of people from the school district and individual schools on our coalition. And because they're the fiscal agent, I actually am, even though I run the coalition, I'm a school employee. So they are part of us. But with that said, we work with them to get our education into the schools. And, we've heard the same thing, Carla, about during COVID with more stress, more anxiety, that kids are using more. But our data does not reflect that. So, you always get, anecdotal, but we've heard lots of stories. So we just go in with our education, presuming that, a high number of kids are using. And what about COVID that makes us particularly nervous? Kids are more stressed, are more anxious, like everyone else. And that is something that can have them self-medicate. So that's concern. And yes, but the schools are they're part of us, and we are working with the schools to get education in the schools and also doing outreach to the parents. Like a lot of our information goes through the school district to the school district parents. I mean, we have our own website, our own Facebook and everything, but we work closely with the schools. And your second question, one was on vaping, but that was your third question. What was your second question, Carla?
My question was about, I know the police officers are doing a great job. They're short-staffed. They're doing what they can, but are they wanting to see, especially with these drug dealers are in their early 20s and they're approaching our young kids. I mean, I'm even hearing that the county's not equipped to deal with the 14 and 15-year-olds coming up the pipeline, and that they don't have any facilities for girls that are under 15.
Okay, and so that, for his treatment and once in the legal system, I'm not so sure about that, but the police, we have, actually it was Spencer who just, I think last Friday was his last day, but we are required to have someone from law enforcement. So we have worked closely with the SRO officers, especially in the middle schools, dealing with particularly vaping. In the old schools, we had some vaping sensors that we paid for that were in the school bathrooms, but since they've been remodeled, we're kind of working on that for the new buildings. And vaping is vaping is a huge problem. You're totally correct. If we, it just irritates me so much that, we did so well with cigarettes and then Juul comes out and our kids are, using again. So it's a huge problem. That again, we are kind of doing some education with the schools and so forth. But yes, it's a huge problem.
And the big thing,
I don't know if that answered very well.
one thing to point out before we move on is that when your kids get illegal THC and it's unmarked, it has a high chance of having fentanyl or opiates in it. So just to be alert to get that information out there. Thank you so much for all you do.
No, thank you, Carla. We totally appreciate your concern, and thank you for adding that about fentanyl. I mean, the whole one pill can kill is very real in our community and everywhere else. Any other questions?
Pam, has there been a noticeable increase in marijuana use since it became legal in Oregon City?
Yes. Since 2014, marijuana use has generally gone up amongst our kids, and even almost, not of more concern, but of equal concern since 2014 when it became legal, the perception of harm went down, which means if they, stressed, anxious, they have access to drugs, then yes, as Carla was saying, social media and so forth, they're more likely to use. But yes, legalization has not helped our kids. And again, in our coalition, we don't care what adults do. I mean, but it's just, it's just a different situation when we're dealing with youth and developing brains.
Yes, that illustration of the brain you had there kind of brings it home to people that the youth are the ones that are really harmed by this. Have you approached any of the neighborhood associations to give this presentation?
No, but actually, we'd love to. If you invite us, we will show up.
Okay.
Now that many of them, hopefully, sounds like you're getting off the ground and, recovering from COVID, we'd love to come talk to them.
Okay, any other questions?
I think
If I could,
Dee Dee just raised her hand.
Dee Dee,
Yes, Dee Dee.
If I could here.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for moving us on the schedule tonight on the agenda, Bob. So, when
Well,
I started
I'm
this-
more than willing to accommodate any old bald-headed old guy like.
There we go. I knew that was coming. Yeah, thanks a lot. And I'm the one that persuaded you to get on planning commission. Anyway, I do want to, 5 years ago, I think when I was a city commissioner, that's when I started on Oregon City Together. And at that time, our emphasis was with the high school kids. And after we did a few surveys and studies and stuff, found out that we could be more effective in junior high because that's when it starts. And that's what we're doing now. Our attention, yes, it's kind of in the high schools, but we're trying to get it before it even gets to the high school. So that's what the prevention programs do. And I was going to tell you too that if anybody's interested in this lockbox, just get a hold of me and I'd be happy to get you one. If you missed the program at Eastham Saturday, I think for a couple of hours there, I think it's Pam, right?
Yeah, it's Saturday, well, not a couple hours. It's this Saturday from 11 to noon, and then it's on the 19th from 10 to 11. But you can pick one up anytime at the Mary Rose Northwest Boutique, the Oregon City Swimming Pool, the library, or Buell's. They all have them, like, quote, kind of behind the counter. You just go in and ask for one anytime.
And this is for, you know, I think a lot of us, not us, but, you know, if you're using any like the gummies and stuff for your arthritis and stuff, you know, it's just, this isn't just for the drugs and stuff, but this is, the gummies are kind of attractive to the little kids and stuff, so we're finding out. But anything you want to lock up, even your syringes for your diabetes or something like that, they're free. So just get a hold of us or drop by one of those locations and we can help you out. But and Bob, you're a breath away now from city commission because you're on planning commission. So when you talk to your city commission folk, tell them that we'd sure like to have some of the funding from the distribution or dispensary revenue that they're receiving, which is about $400,000 a year. We've asked for 10% of that for about 3 or 4 years now, and it's gone on deaf ears. The county, bless their hearts, have seen what we do, but the city hasn't. So I'm encouraging you to have a conversation with your fellows there, people, to see if we can get some of that money next time in the budget, okay?
Okay, I'll give it a try, Brian. You betcha.
There you go. That's what we can do. Thank you, guys.
Dee Dee, did you have something?
I was just wondering if that rain would come to neighborhood picnics so the kids can check it out.
Yeah.
Does that rain travel?
Yes, it does. It's not that heavy. But yeah, we've talked to Melissa, and Recreation is on our coalition. And we're still in conversations with her, but we'd like to get it to some kids' events. Absolutely. That's what it's for. And it's free and we'll, pretty easy to put up. Just plug it in and it blows up.
Thank you.
Yeah, we just need some power, Dee Dee, so.
Yep.
Okay, Denise?
Hi, can you give us some contact information so we can contact you and to come to our neighborhood?
Yes, it absolutely is. I should have put that up. I'm sorry. I'll put it actually. I can.
You can give it to Christina.
I don't see it.
Yeah, actually, Pam, if you want to send me an email, this is Christina, I will forward it to everybody.
Okay, Christina, thank you so much. I'll do that. Thanks.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, well, thank you both for that good information and keep up the good work. It's certainly a good cause for sure.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay, our next presentation is House Bill 2001, Housing Choices Code Update by Christina.
Thank you. All right, can everyone see? Okay, let me get this. Okay, sorry. Thank you, Bob. I just realized I have a transcription on, and that's gonna absolutely. 1 second. Nurse, but I don't think I'm ready for subtitles as I talk. I'm not that good. All right, thank you everybody for having me. I have 2 presentations this evening. One is for House Bill 2001 and one is an update on the comprehensive plan process. But we can answer questions for each as we move forward. So this is only about a 5 or 6 slide presentation, but it's going to get everyone oriented to what is House Bill 2001. I presented this in the fall, but now we are rounding out to public hearings. I want to give CIC members and the public kind of an expectation of the next couple of months and how you can best get involved in the process and make your voice heard. So what is HB 2001? Many of you may have received this weekend a yellow postcard in your mail. I'm seeing some nods. So those were mailed out to everybody, actually within the urban growth boundary, letting them know, both property owners and residents. So we mailed out about 8,000 postcards, letting everyone know that the public hearings for House Bill 2001 will be starting on March 28th at the Planning Commission. That is the first hearing, though there will be many hearings that will be involved, but we noticed the first hearing. If you ever want to know what's going on with House Bill 2001, you can always go to our meetings section at orcity.org/meetings, and you can take a look at the Planning Commission, City Commission agendas, as well as there's a link to the project page, just like any development application, which is, I have a little bit.ly link, which is the bit.ly OC middle. You can kind of see on the right column. So what is House Bill 2001? It was adopted by the legislature in 2019 as a partial solution to addressing Oregon's housing shortage. The law applies to cities in the Portland urban growth boundary, of populations of more than 10,000 people, which is Oregon City. And they prescribed code changes must be updated by June 30th, 2022. So this June. The key interesting piece to this House bill is not only is there a deadline of these code changes that need to be adopted, there is a model code that was created by the Oregon Revised Statute, Oregon Administrative Rules. And so cities that do not adopt code changes that meet House Bill 2001 on July 1st are required to follow the model code. So really what Oregon City is doing is taking a look at our code, seeing where we meet. There's some areas we already meet with House Bill 2001, and there's some areas where we may need to make changes. And so we are working through this spring to meet the changes by June 30th, so we can use our code and not a statewide model code. So the 2 big pieces of House Bill 2001, I call them really 2 sections. A, large cities must allow duplexes on every lot and parcel that allows a single-family detached dwelling. So I like to call that the single-family duplex is really almost the same thing. So anywhere that you allow a single-family house, you will always also allow a duplex. And triplexes, quadplexes, which is another word for fourplexes, townhomes and cottage clusters are allowed in the areas or zones that allow single-family dwellings. So they may have slightly different minimum lot sizes or requirements for siting, but they are to be allowed in those zones that allow single-family residential. So here are some pictures of middle housing types. You have cluster homes, so those are smaller homes that are clustered around an open space, duplex, 3 or 4plex, or quadplex, and townhomes. These are all what we call kind of middle housing. It's that hole in the donut that is between single-family residential and multifamily apartments. So it is those types of uses that we used to have in our neighborhoods and was allowed by right, but over time, or was removed as permitted uses from the zone. So the state legislature, 2019, said cities need to bring those back as permitted uses in their zones. So what is in our legislative packet this spring? I've kind of through our, working with our consultant team and looking through the administrative review of the requirements, they kind of can be brought into three categories. The first one is the must address. So these are items that Oregon City must address by June 30th. So either there is clear direction in the House bill, or maybe there are a couple options given to the city, and the city can choose one of those options. And those items need to be in the amendment package that is adopted by June 30th. Then there's kind of a second category, which is the should address. So either we have areas where maybe the code sections are now misaligned because of the requirements of House Bill 2001. They may not be required, but the city may want to look at that portion of the code. Now there's a little bit of a misalignment, or there's some policy questions attached. And then the third category could be the could address. So there are other items where the city could choose to further remove barriers to middle housing or even promote, and these are not required by House Bill 2001. And so staff is recommending at this time that through the Planning Commission, City Commission process, both of our boards and committees identify policy direction for the must address issues, provide any policy direction on the should address or could address issues, and if there are items that need additional time or direction or outreach back to the community, the city could choose to adopt these in two packages. So one package is the areas where either there's clear policy direction and met the must address. And then the second could be maybe coming back this fall with other items that may need a little bit more time, but are not required by June 30th. It could be that the Planning and City Commission give clear direction on the must address and should address, and they don't want to come back in the fall, or maybe there's a few items. So really we're looking at feedback from the Planning Commission, City Commission, or you, residents of Oregon City, as you provide your comment in these areas. So some example of policy questions, and we don't have to go into them in detail, but I just want to kind of give you a highlight. Some of the must/should address are questions about potential allowing detached duplexes. There's now some misalignment and lot coverage. So now with the required changes, our lower density zones, those are the R6, 8, and 10, now have the exact same lot coverage and minimum lot size as the medium density zones. So does the city want to further differentiate that, or do they want to keep it as is? So those are some of the should or policy misaligned questions. The state allows some range of townhouse maximum densities to choose from. So there'll be a direct question about what is the maximum density of townhomes, and there's a range of density given in the House bill. Question about cottage clusters and on-street parking credits. And then middle housing in the geohazard areas. Currently, we reduce density in areas in our landslide and steep slopes to 2 units per acre. The city could continue to do that and still meet the requirements of House Bill 2001, which allows an exception for natural hazard areas. And so that is a direction that the Planning Commission, City Commission need to give staff. Do you want to continue that, or do you want to allow, really in a sense, allow middle housing to be built on the same footprint that you would build a single family house, but the number of units inside that cube could potentially be more? So those are the policy questions that are coming to the Planning and City Commission. Some items in the could address kind of future hearings or future continuation, talks about allowing more than 1 ADU per lot. The high density dwelling zone now actually is almost the same density for things like townhomes as our single family zones. Lot averaging for subdivisions, now that we allow middle housing, is there a different thought process? and any potential changes to development standards that are not required by HB 2001. So those are some of the policy questions that may come to our Planning Commission and City Commission. And finally, middle housing will be reviewed as we call a type 1 building permit process, which is the same as single family. And the requirements are being reviewed to ensure that middle housing does not have higher requirements, things like window transparency or front porch size, things like that, that are required for single family. And they'll be reviewed through the same process where you go to the planning department and building department, you fill out your middle housing packet, which you do today, and you reviewed for the standards for 3-plexes or 4-plexes or townhomes. So next steps, this next Monday, the Planning Commission will be having their work session, and actually the agenda was just posted today. The Planning Commission will provide staff, ask questions, provide staff direction at for the March 28th, which is the first Planning Commission hearing. Then we're looking at an April 11th recommendation to the City Commission hearings in April and May. And once again, adoption deadline of June 30th for the first package. And if there's a second package of additional items that the city would want to pursue or ask more questions or go back to the public on, that could happen in later 2022. And we have one more item next, well, actually that's tomorrow, there we go. Tomorrow, Becky Hewitt from Eco Northwest is making a presentation on potential housing production strategy tools to increase the affordability of middle housing. So this package that planning staff is working on is what we call the land use approach to middle housing, which is looking at siting standards, development standards. But there are some non-land use tools that are not part of this House Bill 2001, but are a requirement of House Bill 2001 as the city holds a workshop to start talking about them. The 3 items, I believe, are construction excise tax, modification of system development fees, and tax abatement options. So those are 3 specific tools that the House bill set out for cities to start thinking about. And the work session with the City Commission tomorrow is kind of our statutory requirement to hear those tools, but also it's really a way for the city to start thinking about how they may want to look at non-land use tools. In 2027, the city was actually required to create a housing production strategy, which is a strategy comprehensive document about how they want to look at meeting not only our housing needs, but also are there non-land use tools that might break down barriers to make housing more affordability in Oregon City. So we have a little bit of time, it's 2022, and 2027 is when this is required. So this is some of those beginning conversations the city can have. So that's my presentation. I'm available if anybody has any questions. I can go back to that next steps.
Carla, go ahead.
Number one, what we're seeing in the neighborhood associations currently is, as you know, doing land use, is that the transportation reports are usually pretty inaccurate. They're from like 2017, or they're not very accurate, and it typically is happening to where the current transportation person just agrees usually with the developer. And the other issue is a lot of geological studies aren't doing a soil poke. So then it makes me concerned about, are they really evaluating whether a land is a geohazard and where water runs? Because obviously everything's going downhill. So if someone's going to build something of that nature, you would hope they'd make a French drain or something so that whatever they do on settling the land, that it's not draining downhill.
Yeah.
So my concern about this is if you're looking at the transportation report and traffic, we obviously are lacking infrastructure. Is there a plan in the future to compensate so us on the Hill don't bear the burden of old pipes and paying an arm and a leg for stormwater? And number 2 would be, are they going to create higher standards of reporting before they create something like this? And number 3, we still have a lot of people who drive. And I'm currently seeing on land use that there's not enough parking. So what are they gonna do when they put, because I've seen ideas of like having a fourplex on the side of one single car garage. So how are they going to adapt? I mean, currently the city development seems like they're just doing whatever they're trying to get through what they can. What are they gonna do in consideration for livability for the current people who live here? Those are my
Sure, no,
concerns.
those are all great questions. I'll try to take them, and if I miss them, let me know.
Sorry, yeah, sure.
No, it's fine. I'm going to answer the geologic hazard question first. If the city commission and planning commission choose to not change our code, then the city will, if you are in a geologic hazard area, it's actually a mapped overlay district. So you either in it or you're not regulatory wise. So either in a known landslide, a buffer of a known landslide, or an area of steep slope, which is over 25%. So if you fall in one of those categories, you are in the geologic hazard overlay district, which means no matter if you're a single family house, a fourplex, or a new subdivision or a commercial application, you will have to follow the Oregon City Municipal Code 1744 geologic hazard. So nothing in this proposal changes that. If the city commission chooses to allow middle housing, they could say, in geologic hazards, they could say, you're still constrained by the same footprint as a single family home. If you happen to want to put 2 units in the same cube as a single family home, that's something that the city could choose to do or not to do. So that's one of those policy questions. Does not change your review of geologic hazards. The same standards required. So that's the geologic hazards answered. Transportation, I like to think of this when I talk to the state and our consultant team is really, middle housing really falls into 2 buckets. One is an infill project, which means you are an existing house and you are adding more units to your existing house. So you are not doing a land division, you are not creating a new subdivision, you're doing an infill development. So what the direction we get from the state is we cannot require more from a middle housing development. So let's say you were putting a 3-plex on your property than we do for a single family. So we do not require a transportation study for a single family house infill project, not a subdivision. Therefore, we cannot require that for a 3-plex. We have to treat it the same. So for infill, those are going to be dispersed around the city, and through our transportation analysis, it's not any one intersection will be impacted by a long-term dispersed infill. If you are doing a new subdivision where you may have future lots that may be 3 and 4-plexes, you will analyze that as part of your subdivision analysis. So let's say you have 50 lot subdivision, and you have, we will be looking at how many units could be in that 50 lot subdivision and still meet the transportation impact analysis criteria. So that won't change. So you may see in future subdivisions that may say, I'm just making this up a little bit, but if they have a 50 lot subdivision, we've done the analysis, and this 50 lot subdivision can have up to 72 units in it. Like that, a random as example. So therefore, builders that come in know that they could do up to 72 units in that 50 lot subdivision and meet today's performance standards. And anything above that, they'd have to go back for more analysis. So that's the kind of thing you'll be looking at. So you really want to separate it between infill development, which we have to treat as a single family house infill, just whatever we can allow for single family house infill, we do for this, and subdivision analysis. They're 2 different things. And one thing we may recommend is to update our transportation impact analysis to provide clear direction. So both parties, both the applicant and the city, know exactly what they're scoping when they scope, even though we have the authority now to look at, additional units in a subdivision application. Is that?
Yep,
okay.
Thank you. So
that is a clear thing. It's, we got very clear direction from the state of Oregon legally through this House bill that especially as it relates to infill development, middle housing needs to be reviewed really the same way as single family infill does. And so we're really trying to look at how to create processes for really those two buckets: subdivisions, future subdivisions, and infill.
I have a question.
I can't see if anybody out there in Zoom land is wishing to address.
I'm not seeing it, but I do see Linda.
Go ahead, Linda.
I understand that the single family can go to a multi-family. What if you have a lot that is a multi-family zone? Can that be a single family resident at this point? Some of these would be infill lots, and the lot is restricted for items that would have made it too tight for a duplex or triplex. Gonna go the other way.
That's a good question. So House Bill 2001 only addresses zones where single-family homes are allowed. So you'll notice we are not, at this point, making any changes to our multifamily zone or mixed-use commercial zone. There may be some, when we get some of those like misalignment connections, just because the strings reach in. But really, this is set up for our zones that allow single-family residential in our primarily residential districts. And that is really the low-density residential, R6, 8, and 10, and the medium-density residential, which is R3.5 and R5.
Any other questions out there? I think probably the most use you'll see of this is in new developments.
Well, babe, but you might have a neighbor, depends on where you live in the city, who may choose to, add on to their house. If there's a detached duplex, maybe there is a new unit in their backyard. There are potentials for your neighbors to use this. So I don't want to tell anybody that it's not going to happen. It'll be gradual. I think the other key piece is we can zone for middle housing and allow middle housing, but if the numbers don't work in your business pro forma, then you're not going to build it, because you still need to look at the system development fees and the cost of development and the cost of your land and the final sales price, and those all need to pencil to move this. Oregon City adopted middle housing in 2019, early 2020, and then the pandemic hit, so we haven't had a lot of middle housing, and time will tell if COVID slowed down that process, or it would have been the same way just because we weren't quite ripe for that market assessment to work. So like a lot of things with middle housing, a lot of cities, we're going to make the changes this June that we're required to and where we get direction, and we'll probably have to revisit and give status updates and let the community know what things are working and what things aren't over the years.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, well, thank you, Christina.
Sure. I'll stop
The
share.
next presentation will be from Christina for
Look at me.
OC 24, the comprehensive plan update.
Sure. Let me start this one. Okay. All right, so I know you've seen this many times, but tonight I'm going to give you a little update of where we are in OC 2040, and most importantly, how you can get involved and make your comments either individually or as a board, and then in a committee, and then kind of give you the next steps for the adoption process. So OC 2040 is our Oregon City Comprehensive Plan update. It started right before COVID started, so we've had this whole process very virtually, but for someone who's been here for the last 20 years.
Mostly breaking up. I'm so sorry
Oh.
to butt in.
Sorry, for someone who's, thank you, Dee Dee. For someone who's been here for the last 20 years, I feel like we've reached out to people and we've brought people into the process that normally don't get involved in Oregon City Comprehensive Plan updates or city kind of long-range planning. So I'm really pleased, especially the first year visioning. We heard from Oregon City residents who don't normally get involved in the process. So I was really heartened to see that engagement. So as I explained, OC 2040 will update the Oregon City's comprehensive plan to reflect the community's vision and guide decision-making about future growth and development. The plan will be implemented through the goals and policies, which we'll talk about tonight, that influence the development code and other ordinances, projects, and plans. So what is a comprehensive plan? A comprehensive plan is both a long-range document that complies with our Oregon state land use requirements. It provides highlights for residents' desires and provides a documented roadmap to guide decision makers. The comprehensive plan is implemented through other cities' plans, such as the Parks Master Plan, Transportation System Plan. So you might have a broader city goal and policy that is further implemented or further refined. So for example, a city may have a policy about future parks, but it's really the Parks Master Plan that provides that detail and documentation. So those master plans, like the Water Master Plan, Sewer Master Plan, Parks Master Plan, Transportation System Plan, Stormwater Plan, they are called ancillary documents to the comprehensive plan. They kind of fold in underneath it and provide the more detailed direction underneath a larger city goal and policy, as well as the Oregon City Municipal Code, which implements Oregon City's goals and policies of its comprehensive plan. So a comprehensive plan really sets out a vision. So four major topic sections of the vision were adopted by the City Commission this summer. And then they've been rolled into with goals and policies. So the goals and policies, which I'll be showing you tonight and are available on our forum, really are broad statements of purpose that define what a community wants to achieve, and then policies that guide those decision makers. What a comprehensive plan will not have as action items or that are really more implementation only, as this is a 20-year document. We don't want action items that are really checking off projects. Our existing comprehensive plan, which is adopted in 2004, has like 176 goals and policies, and a fair amount, a chunk of them really are action items. And people were so passionate about them, they wanted to make sure they weren't lost, but then you read them 20 years later and they're just, either the project was done or was irrelevant or didn't have political support anymore, or it just was too specific. So our goal was to take away some of those action items, create broader goals and policies, and really hope that they are further refined in our master plans, but then also through our city's implementation plan or action item plan that the city commissions will adopt over the years that will implement those goals and policies. So tonight's meeting is to provide any initial feedback from this group that I will pass on to our consultant team. But most importantly, you can provide your own comment through the virtual comprehensive plan forum, which you can click on the main page of OC 2040, and you can provide your own detailed comments to the goals and policies, and that's open through this week, through March 14th. So I really encourage everybody after the meeting tonight, head back home, go on to the live forum, and submit your comments. So tonight, you'll kind of see where we are. We've had an amazing first year where we reached out to the community and with really broad questions, asked community members, what do you want to see in Oregon City? That was folded into the vision statement, which was very aspirational because it was coming from community members. And then where we are in this yellow piece is taking our aspirational community vision statements, looking through our existing comprehensive plan, reaching out to our boards and commissions and planning commission and city commission, and providing that additional clarity. I know somebody seems to be not muted. Can you check if on the screen, if you're on Zoom, can you check to make sure you're muted? All right, thank you. One thing I like to remind everybody this round, and I was here in 2004, so I really like how we flipped the script this time, In 2004, we went out to our boards and commissions and staff members of our department and said, okay, why don't you write your chapter of the comprehensive plan that relates to what your group works on. We'll bring it all together and then we'll review it. Well, we really flipped the script and we went out to the community first and said, we don't want you to read our draft red lines. We want you to create this broad vision. And now it's really our boards and commissions and planning commissioners and city commissioners' job to see where things are missing, or maybe something's too broad, or you have the experience and say, well, I see where your vision was there, but we want to make sure we don't forget this piece, or this is a little bit too broad, so this is a way we can refine it. And we really are at the refining place of, do we have what we need to have a quality, far-reaching, long-term comprehensive plan? After staff has presented to all of our boards and commissions, you actually are the last group to have the presentation. We've been out to the Transportation Advisory Committee, we've done the Parks and Rec, we've gone to all of Oregon City's boards and commissions, and held the public forum. Our consultant team is going to be gathering that information, along as we've had Planning Commission and City Commission work sessions and heard their comments. And we hope to have public hearings starting later this year. We're still actually working on the finalization of those dates, but I would probably say later this summer we would start hearings. So between now and this summer, we're going to finalize, reach out to our commissions again, and try to get a draft document for everyone to review. So let me kind of give a little background of how we got here. Over this last year, we had 4 comprehensive plan summits. I know some of you were on them, where we really looked at detailed comments related to specific areas. We had coffee and comp plan drop-in series. We had a community-wide online surveys, and we had 11 project advisory teams, and those are made up from community members and resource specialists around the region that may have a specific stakeholder background that they can provide at these meetings. There were 4 areas that came out of the vision process, and really the 4 main chapters of the comprehensive plan: healthy and welcoming community, diverse economy, connected infrastructure, and protected environment. So out of that vision, what we've been working on is translating the community's wants and desires into goals and policies. And I don't have screenshots of every goal and policy, so I really do encourage you to head to oc2040.com and go really kind of dive in. There's links to each policy. And I really encourage you to go in and take a read through, provide your, commentary, red lines. Where do you think we have it right? Where do you think we're missing something? Where do you think we need a little tweak? So just to provide a little overview, under healthy and welcoming communities, we're looking at diverse and inclusive community engagement. This would be the CIC's portion. So definitely take a look at this in detail when you get onto the forum. We want to protect and acknowledge our historic and cultural resources, safe, healthy, and comfortable neighborhoods, and integrate diversity, equity, inclusion approaches. So underneath, you'll see policy concepts. They're actually policies written out in the draft form, just a little bit too big to fit into this slide. But you'll want to take a look at any comments within those policies. The next is a diverse economy, dynamic, ecologically sound, and socially equitable economy, housing options for all residents, maintain an urban growth boundary, and sustainable site design and construction practices. Connected infrastructure is the next category, safe and equitable multimodal transportation system, maintain and improve public facilities and infrastructure, ensure health and safety through comprehensive service provisions and resiliency and energy conservation. And lastly, protected environment, systems of trails, parks, and recreational amenities, function, health, and diversity of natural resources and ecosystems, and mitigate natural hazard risk and manage rapid response recovery. So that's a lot. I don't expect you to read all those right now, but just want to give you an overview. And this is where you can provide your comments. And I really encourage all of you, if you can, head over to the forum. If there are areas that you don't have much comments on, you can skip them. Spend all your energy on the things you're passionate about. You can't comment too much or too little. So you comment to the level that you think your Oregon City elected officials want to hear. And it's really, you click right on the Oregon City 2040 page. You'll see the comprehensive plan forum. Here's a little sneak peek. We've been showing you the policies and goals, but a comprehensive plan has a little bit more. So this is the table of contents, the table of contents of our future comprehensive plan. You'll see some plans to your right from other communities, but it really is a combination of background information, some nice background photos, kind of clear direction, looking in those goals and policies, and a how do I use this section for future elected officials, community members, on how to use the comprehensive plan as they need to make policy decisions for city projects and city decisions, as well as appendix. So this is kind of what a future comprehensive plan will look like, and where you'll see that later this spring, early summer. And next steps, once again, the comprehensive plan forum, city staff presentations, me, to city groups and committees, you, and you're the last group. But all these presentations are available to any of the city groups that happen kind of January through March, are all available on our YouTube site if you want to listen to any of them or any conversation you want to hear from other boards and commissions. And then there's Planning Commission and City Commission meetings this spring as they kind of work session their comments and red lines. I know Commissioner Marl has been involved in one of them, and we just met with the Planning Commission last week, and they had some really great comments and feedback, and we'll be going back to the City Commission this spring as well. And that's all I have for comprehensive plans. I'm available for if anybody has any questions.
Are there any questions from the Zoom land out there? Okay, I was really glad to see that they're taking away the action items this time, because I was involved in the planning process as a citizen member. And as part of that, I read the old comprehensive plan. And my goodness.
A lot.
Talk about a lot of gobbledygook and stuff that is laid out in great detail, but was never followed, never accomplished. And so this will be a much more concise document and leave room for current activities.
Right, and really provide direction for current work plans, both departments, staff, and city commission.
Well, you mentioned that the last one was put together by different groups. You could certainly tell that just by reading it. Mm-hmm. It was something. And the Planning Commission met with this subject last Monday, and we did just a ton of wordsmithing. In fact, it lasted so long that the second presentation was delayed until a different meeting. I forget what time we got out that night, but it was around 10 o'clock or so, I think. So it's going to be a good plan, I think.
Yeah, it's always that balance. You don't want to have your goals and policies so vague that they don't mean anything, but they don't want to have them so specific. And so it's writing that line, and we just need to spend this spring to figure out what's the right place for us as Oregon City. All right.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Christina. I'm not going to let you get away quite yet, though, because the next item is the staff liaison updates.
This is the Christina night. Okay, I'm going to share our agenda. I'm going to scroll down. I don't really have much new updates other than there's a link to the forum, right? And we lost. Huh, that's not good. I lost our backdrop, but that's okay. You will have it on your, no? Man.
Blank screen.
Well, I will talk then, because it's all there on your agenda packet. But really, the normal things we have on the packet are the links to the comprehensive plan forum, and then just general links about postcards. Once again, questions about postcards, ask me. And then as well as how to get access to development applications, public records requests. I do have a current update on the postcard budget. So that's attached on the last page of the agenda packet. So take a look at your neighborhood association's budget items, and as the spring goes on, if you need additional money, please plan ahead so you can ask for that before June 30th. And just take a look at what you have. There is extra money, but it needs to be allocated by vote the city commission for neighborhoods. The last piece, I do know Linda's going to share her great sandwich board sign that was paid for by postcard money in Roundtable. But just to remind everybody, if you want to use your postcard money for things other than postcards, there are still some limits, and I can talk you through, but things like sandwich board signs, one-off letters to your neighborhood addresses, encourage them to attend future meetings, other kind of outreach options. Come talk to me and I'll let you know if that can be paid for. Linda bought the signs, and I will be working through the reimbursement this week. So there are ways to use your postcard funds for more than postcards. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Christina. The next will be the roundtable. I'll start it off. I sent an email to the Chief of Police, Jim Band, requesting that he give me 4 dates within the next, I think it was 60 days, 2 during the day and 2 during the evening, to provide us, the CIC, a tour of the new police facility. And then I sent a similar email to John Lewis with Public Works to give us the choices on tours of the new Public Works facility. So I'm waiting. I just sent those emails today, so I'm waiting for responses. And then I think what I may do when I get those dates and times is ask Christina just to send all of you an email notice of those, and then we'll take a consensus of which works best for most people. I did tell them that, believe it or not, there are some people on the CIC that still work for a living. And so daytime may be difficult for some of the folks on the CIC. But anyway, I'm kind of looking forward personally to those tours. Let's see, that's all I have from the CIC chair. So we'll go into the neighborhoods. We'll start with Park Place. Steve.
So Park Place had a general meeting last Monday. I think we had 14 people there, so it was not well attended. Presentation by Aquila, and we got to meet her, and she's coming up to speed. So we also got an update on from Sergeant Pagano, our liaison. And other than that, we're planning for elections in May, and we're hoping to have a real live meeting, if not a hybrid meeting, so. And that's what we have for now.
Thank you, Steve. I have McLaughlin from Denise.
So we had a meeting last Thursday, and we elected officers, including another CIC member. Yay! So we will have,
Who that might be.
her name is Willamine
Okay.
Wilkinson, I believe.
We'll take
She
your word
goes by
for
Will.
it.
She's been in our neighborhood for 1 or 2 years now, and I'm excited to have her. She's got some good background that'll be helpful for us. So our chairperson has been resisting sending out postcards and has just been sending email information for our meetings. This time, postcards were sent and we had 8 new people show up. So he has acquiesced to sending postcards. And nobody gave him a hard time about that. Maybe. We had a presentation from Kendall Reed, who's the Parks and Rec Director, about the Parks Master Plan. And we're making progress on a Good Neighbor agreement with the Father's Heart. We are looking forward to a cleanup on 7th Street in May sometime. And we are looking forward to selling snow cones again, concerts in the park. So,
Hey.
yeah. So that's it.
Okay. Hillendale, Sarah, please.
There we go. Well, we're still struggling a little bit. I would say we're floundering a bit since we lost Eric Hopwood, our chair. We're not getting meetings announced early enough and stuff, so we're kind of going a little bit backwards right now, but you know, there's still a core group of us. We keep trying. We're hanging in there. We're gonna, you know, keep seeing what we can do. We're supposed to meet a steering committee meeting tomorrow, and I just sent a nudge to get, you know, the Zoom link for everybody. So not much to report. I'm sorry.
Is there anything we can do to help, Sarah?
Oh, that's lovely, Chairman LaSalle. I don't know what that would be. We need somebody who's willing to just, you know, get in there and lead, and everybody's got so many time commitments, and, you know, we've got the 2 of us. We've got Tower Vista and Hillendale working together, so, you know, in theory, we should be able to come up with some people and, you know, what we need to do, but
Maybe,
COVID going away will help, I think.
yeah, let's hope so. Maybe if you start some kind of rumor or something. Okay, thank you, Sarah. John Keys with Caulfield.
Well, we have a meeting in a couple of weeks, so we'll see how it works out with everything going on. Another thing, we have a little tree issue in a park, and somebody wants some trees taken down. Suppose they were dying and sick, whatever. We first thought it was Tyrone Woods' new park. And so the vice chair walked by explaining that you have to go through these other processes. They misunderstood what they got from the city. But there is no HOA in that neighborhood. So then they came back to us again, and it's the Caulfield Park. I'm not sure which park that is. I know that HOA, so that's what we're looking at now. I don't know. Christina's got the information. I know she's passing on to people that should know. But I guess the biggest concern is that the trees aren't in good shape. A lot of sap dying, and some kids were climbing out and limbs were breaking off. So we're about injuries too. So it could be an issue we have to worry about, and figure out which park and who can take care of her and get involved in getting it fixed. So that was the biggest thing we've had since I've been head of that committee. So, you know, been interesting. That's about it.
Thank you, John. Unionville, Carla.
Hi, we have a meeting tomorrow night, and we are having Public Works coming out because they are going to, John Wheeler's coming, the Assistant Director of Public Works, to discuss what type of improvements they want to do on Malala around our neighborhood and how it's going to affect neighbors and local business. Number two is we're having a land use come in at the end of Pleasant, right on the corner of Malala before Mountain View and Barclay Hills Drive. A townhome that I thought I didn't understand that could build 7 units without presenting to us and never did. And now they're presenting 10. And the area is pretty barricaded off, so I can't really see what's going on with that lot or what the solution is with parking. So that'll be interesting. Just because that area is pretty active and it's pretty much one way. You can only take a right onto Malala there, so that'll be interesting. And there's some townhomes there already, and it's kind of condensed there and dangerous because you can only take a right there. Right, there's no other solution unless they go back the other direction of Pleasant and then take a left onto Malala. And then we are discussing, what else are we discussing? Anyways, we're talking about getting together as a neighborhood association and meeting at the farmer's market at some point, to try to get people aware of the farmer's market, maybe network with the community. And then we're going to talk about doing possibly Newell Creek is going to, open, or Newell Canyon Park is going to open up their, Newell Creek Canyon Park is going to open up with Metro and do a grand opening this summer. And since it's in our neighborhood, we may do a ice cream social, since that's kind of COVID friendly because it's packaged. And other than that, nothing new. And so it'll be interesting. It's tomorrow.
Thank you, Carla. Kanima, Linda.
We had our meeting and we had probably 20 people came. It was a pretty good turnout. And we had a presentation by Chris Staggs. He's doing a new cottage in the meadows. He wants to build, I think, 44 tiny, small home, cottage homes. And very well done. We all had a rousing discussion about the old Kanima Park. We did call the city and they are not going to reopen that park, which was good because we have lots of crime and issues we wanted the city to deal with before. But since they're not going to open it, then we don't need to see what we can do to keep the cars out because there is so much drugs and crime in that park. And it's a very beautiful park, but it's really rural, very hard to get through there. So we're thinking if we get 44 new cottages there, that can bring more people down through Kanima. The more people you have in a park, the more eyes, maybe they'll go someplace else, we're hoping. And then we're having a steering committee Wednesday, and we got signs we're gonna put out. So those are our A-frame signs. We use the same font that the city has for Kanima neighborhood. And we'll put 4 of those out. We can change them for whatever they want to say, whenever we need them, and put them out for getting more people in there. One side is, blank for now, but we did write on or whatever. We got those in Buzz White signs, and if you get 6 or more, they are cheaper. There would be $75 a sign if you get 6 or more. And they should last a long time. As a long-time realtor, I only had 2 signs ever stolen. Those were on the Henrici Beaver Creek intersection, where they have nothing but signs anywhere. But somehow they were offended by my little real estate signs that they took away. Anything else, Dennis?
You're saying $75 or buy 6, how many were 4? How much does it cost for 4?
Gosh, I think it was 85. Could have been
okay.
90. I can't. We talked about this in our neighborhood association. The neighborhood association wrote the bill, paid for the signs, and then we're going to be reimbursed for. We're looking, this should be a long-term area. People don't get the postcards, they don't read them, they're too early, they're too late, and we can just move these around for different locations, or if we're having an ice cream social or anything else in the neighborhood, we can change our signage immediately and put them out. And they're fairly easy to store and put out. So I'll let you know how we work. We had 20 people without them. We'll see how many more people we get.
Oh,
Now, you've mentioned that ice cream social twice.
I know I have.
And I want you to remember it to be on your mailing list.
Okay.
You just hand them out.
But we have to go to the other, neighborhood associations once, a couple times a year.
Yes, yeah.
Is that it for you?
That's it, unless
Okay,
Dennis
thank
has
you.
something to add.
Oh, I just want to compliment the police. The liaison officers that they send out into the neighborhood are really important. And I think it's, we have, like, for instance, in our last little meeting that Linda alluded to, we had a substitute officer come out, Officer Wallace, I believe his name is. And it was most informative on the wing. He was able to field many questions concerning the ongoing thing with the old Kanema Park and offered many suggestions on how to bring it to the attention of John Lewis or the commission to, since it's an ongoing problem, since it's interestingly topical with the Oregon City Together with Pam and Brian here tonight. So with that old Kanemo Park, suggestions like pylons or an operational gate that can be closed, or just a little bit more enforcement on closing the parks at 10 o'clock would probably, cut the problem that we have with illicit things taking place after dark. And I just wanted to underscore that the contact with the police and their liaison officers that come out into the neighborhood, they do offer a great deal of information. And sometimes in the neighborhood, we often don't get a chance to, point out an issue. We see them going around. They have a lot to do. They're understaffed. We see them in the neighborhoods, but sometimes they don't get the due credit. And I just wanted to commend their efforts and their service that they give to the neighborhood. That's all.
Thank you, Dennis. Commissioner Marl.
Thank you, Chair LaSalle. So I have a few things, and a few of them I was able to strike off because they've already been discussed. So the first one is about tolling. So I sit on the Regional Tolling Diversion Committee with city leaders from across Clackamas County and with also representatives from Clackamas County. And at our last meeting, they gave us an updated presentation on their regional mobility pricing study, which has been in progress thus far, and they're slowly giving us new information, and getting new information for once was very nice. But the big thing that I took away was I asked them, you made certain assumptions when you were doing your study based off of how things would improve or not improve. Logically, that says that you would have used an assumed rate for these tolls. So what were they? And what they told us, and keep in mind, this is all at the discretion of the Oregon Transportation Commission. This would be their final decision, but what they used in the study, what their assumptions were 60 cents up to $2 at the peak hour. And this would be per gantry, and there would be several gantries along I-205. So one could imagine taking a quick short trip and being charged $10 for that trip. So I was glad that we at least got the information there, but as always, we will continue to push back against their plan to start with I-205 without doing I-5 as well, because that is incredibly unfair, and it's going to be a really huge blow to our communities. I'm just going to reiterate again, please tune in to the State of the Community address on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Talked about OC 2040, we talked about HB 2001. The last few meetings, we've been going through a land use appeal regarding the large house on 5th Street. So there's not many new policies that we've actually been addressing recently. And then the last thing I wanted to say is that I'm in the process of researching the development of a youth advisory commission for Oregon City. this is something that's important to me as a young person. I want to provide an outlet for other young people, high school aged people, to get involved with their local government. So I'm in the process of reading a large stack of guidebooks and handbooks from other cities that have done it well, and I'm looking forward to moving that process forward.
I got one thing on that, on the toll. You're talking about the tolls, and some of the other meetings that they're having about this, it doesn't sound like it'll be stopped unless we have elected officials that are running this thing, and we actually put some pressure on people. And I saw one thing they read, with the toll, the freeway will be empty at rush hour because no one's going to the freeway because of the toll. So where they're going to be, they're going to be on the side roads. So, okay, we'll keep everyone off the freeway. We understand that, but we know where the people are going to be instead of on the freeway. So it's kind of a oxymoron. We're kind of stuck, and I don't know what we can really do about it.
Well, and another thing I'll add to that, that's a great point, because they showed us this map in their presentation, and it had red circles denoting intersections that were going to get worse because of diversion from tolling, and these green squares showing which intersections would be better. And it was the whole Clackamas County region. And wouldn't you know, Oregon City had 0 of the green squares. So all of our portions were areas that are projected to be worse because of tolling. And right now, we're not seeing any concrete information about what ODOT wants to do with localities about how to make that better or mitigate it. So we're going to continue to ask those questions.
And I don't think that comes as a big surprise to any of us, for sure. Okay, anybody else have anything? I'd just like to mention one thing, that I'd like to encourage everyone to offer their prayers to the people of the Ukraine during this terrible time. You watch those news broadcasts, and it almost brings tears to your eyes, some of the things that those poor people are going through.
So I have one thing, two things. Was very happy to see the clock was set correctly. We'll check to see next month whether it's been set back. Number 2, we are not the OC planning.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
I like it. I will change it.
Okay. Okay, this meeting is adjourned.